Alright guys, so welcome to today's video, and in today's video we will deal with this third episode of our Roblox Lua series, guys. And this episode might be a little bit shorter in comparison to the other episodes I have already uploaded, and the reason for that is because I would like to cover up the Properties tab once more. I have already covered up the Properties tab in the last episode, a little only, because the last episode was mainly about the variables and printing out and warning, okay? So we had to deal with references and with the properties tab a little, and in this video I would like to intensify the topic around the properties tab, alright? And once again, we are going to start with this short presentation. It is really short. I only have 3 points, maybe 3 notes, I mean. Yeah, so let's see. Okay, so the first note is about the properties tab, okay? So about a definition of it. And the properties tab, I have already showed it to you in the first episode. It basically holds all of the attributes of an instance, okay? So attributes such as the color, the size, the material, as long as it is a physical instance. If it is more of an theoretical instance, such as a value, an int value, a bool value, whatsoever, then it holds the value and some other attributes, such as the class name. So every instance has a class name in order to be able to put it or to categorize it, so that you are able to tell that the instance is a part or is an int value or is a bool value, you know, so just the class of the instance. And those are some examples for possible attributes, okay? So we will, of course, go through this whole properties tab and its attributes. Yeah, in future progress of this video. Also, every instance has different attributes, or can possibly have different attributes. So it really depends on the instance you work with. Okay. And you might ask, yeah, so why should we know about the Properties tab when it comes to scripting, okay? And this note will hopefully answer this question. So you're able to access those attributes manually, first of all, so you can, of course, use your mouse to click on certain attributes, such as the color, and then select a new color, or to access the material attribute in order to change the material, or you can even change the size if you want to. Okay, so those are manual actions you can do for yourself, or you can make you can create some code which just changes all of those attributes for you. Okay, that's the point where we come to object-oriented programming, because let me give you a short example. The knife in Murder Mystery, which, for example, is being thrown, okay? It also is a result of object-oriented programming. There is an instance inside of that knife which makes it float, and that instance's property is being changed by the script, okay? For example, the velocity, maybe, or some other attributes. So I'm not sure what kind of body mover was used. Okay, but I'm just confusing you. Okay, so just be aware of that everything you'll see, okay, within the game basically consists of an instance, and its attributes are just being changed per script, okay? And that's basically object-oriented programming. So you have an object, you have an instance, and your script or your code is orientated to interact with its attributes, with its property, with its properties, in order to create an illusion for you. Okay, and that illusion could be, for example, yeah, having a gun which shoots, having a sword which kills, whatsoever. Okay, so those are just some examples, but do not worry if you do not understand those examples right away, because you really need to know about the instances in the first place in order to get an idea of how certain things were used. Okay, so let's switch over to Studio to demonstrate everything I've just tried to present to you. All right, and here we go. So first of all, I hope that you have enabled this properties tab right here, as I've told you to do in the first episode. And yeah, so let's start with the work on that. And your properties tab, when you enter Studio without clicking on anything within this world. So this properties tab then is blank, okay? So there is nothing on it, it is just empty. And if you want to fill this properties tab, then you of course need to select something. So you need to select an instance. And as you can see, everything inside of this Explorers tab is an instance, even those categories such as the workspace, the lighting, the players tab, whatsoever. So let's click on the workspace first of all. And let me just give you a short overview. So an attribute every one of them has in common is the class name, the name, and the parent. Okay? So this data category within this properties tab may differ from instance to instance, but three attributes everyone has in common is name, parent, and class name. And I have already gone through the parent in the last episode when we had to refer to things, and the name is hopefully clear to you, and the class name, well, as I've already told you, it is the class, okay? And in this case, this thing is lighting, okay? So it belongs to the class of lighting, and it is the only instance of lighting, so of this class lighting. And the same goes for the workspace, okay? And let me give you an example later on why this class name could be important. But we'll do that later. Okay, so let's go through this thing. So as you can see, we have many attributes, and you do not need to know about them right now. Okay, that's not important. It is just important to see that those attributes differ. So if I click on this workspace, as you can see, we have things like gravity, fallen parts, destroy, height, client, animator, throttling, whatsoever. So we have many attributes, and if I click on the camera, then all of those attributes have disappeared, okay? And that's the difference between those two instances. And as you can see, even the class name is different, means those are completely different instances, guys. And yeah. The same goes for the spawn location, and the spawn location is a spawn location and not a part, okay? And it has some attributes which a basic part also has, such as the size, the position, the orientation, whatsoever, and even those attributes, okay? Yeah, but there are also attributes such as force field, teams, so those categories, which you can play around with. And do not misunderstand me, I'm not gonna go through all of those attributes. So some instances have very special attributes, and I just suggest you to experiment around, okay? So just pick out some instances and just play around with the properties and get to know about Roblox Studio and about its attributes, about an instance's properties, attributes, whatsoever, guys. So yeah, that's your homework, let's say. Okay, but let me give you a short example why class names could be important. I could also be wrong about this example, but I don't think so, at least. Okay, but we'll see. So, okay, so we have those three instances, okay? And as you can see, they are different from each other. So they differ in shape. We have the sphere, this block or part, and we have this cylinder, okay? But so you might assume that those three instances are different from each other, therefore have different class names. But the truth is that they all have the same class name called part, okay? Now let's move on. So you might now assume that the shape doesn't matter when it comes to the class name, okay? Then take a look at this one. So this one has a different shape as well, but it is still a truss part, okay? So it is not a normal part. And here comes the difference. So if you size this thing up, then it changes, as you can see, okay? But the same does not apply on your shapes right here. So they are still parts, but they do not differ in those other attributes. The only difference you could possibly spot when it comes to sizing those things is that when you try to change the Y size of a cylinder, then it does not size, or it does not increase in size right away, okay? So you have to expand it on this Z-axis in order to be able to expand it on the Y-axis, and the same goes for the sphere. So if you want to decrease the size on the Z-axis, then you will also decrease the whole size of the sphere, as you can see, okay? So those three share the same class name, even though you could call this a ball part, for example. So as a class name, okay? So just in theory, and while this could be a block part and this could be a cylinder part, okay? So you could possibly assume that those three have different class names, but that's not the case, okay? So that was just something I wanted to show you. Okay, so now let's move on with scripting. So how are you able to refer to each property, or to refer to properties in general? And yeah, so it is recommended for you, or I hope so, okay, that you have watched the last video in which we have referred to instances, because that's important now. So you need the knowledge of referring to instances in this video as well. Okay, now let me add a new part, and let's try to change the color of this one first of all. Okay, so do you guys remember how you would refer to this part? So you need to take a look at the parent of this part till the parent is place 1, let's say. So workspace is the parent of this part. The parent of workspace is place 1, aka game. So game, okay? So you refer to game as place 1, and then dot means you want to refer to a child of game, which is either workspace or any of those, okay? And we of course want to refer to workspace, and then we want to refer to a child of workspace. So if you cannot remember properly, the workspace is the parent, okay? And everything inside is called children. So everything which belongs to workspace and is inside of workspace is called a child of workspace. All right? So we have this tree with its different branches. But this one is the main tree, and those one are only the branches, okay? So that might help you guys. Okay, so we have this workspace, and we now want to, refer to the part. And since the part is a child of this workspace, because it is inside of the workspace, and the attribute parent says workspace, we can just easily do this, okay? All right, and we now want to refer to any of those attributes right here. And as I've told you, I want to change the color, but I might start with an easier attribute. Let's start with the transparency, okay? So how would I refer to the transparency? And let me show you how. We just do or you just write dot and then transparency. Okay, and you might be confused now because we have used this dot in order to refer to children. So workspace dot part. Part is a child of your workspace, and we are now using the same concept to refer to an attribute. But how is this possible? Because you would only refer to children by doing so, okay? So this would require the attribute transparency to be inside of the part. Just a quick example. So this would require the case to be like this, okay? So ignore ignore the instances class, so ignore that this is a script, but it would require your part to contain a child called transparency in order to be able to refer as we do right here, okay? And that's the point where it might be a little bit confusing to you. So that's basically how you refer to attributes, okay? And if you have an instance inside of your child right here, which has the same name as any of those attributes, then you have to change it. Okay? Rule number 1. Okay. So that's when how you refer to an attribute. We can also do the same for material, or brick color, or size, or parent, or name, okay? So we can do this for every attribute, okay? So that does not change, but we want to do it for the transparency, okay? So if you want to override an existing attribute with something else, then you want to express that you first of all point at the attribute you want to change, and that's basically your reference. So you need to imagine that you are sitting in front of this whole code, okay? And you use your finger to point at the attribute you want to change, okay? And that point, or pointing that out, is basically your reference right here. And then you say that the thing you point out is, and this is expressed through this equal. So, okay, so you express that something equals something, so that your transparency equals what you want it to be. So transparency equals, and now, okay, now you need to know some things about the transparency. So 0 means that this whole thing is not transparent, means invisible, and the more you increase this transparency value, the more it turns to invisible, okay? So if you are at 1, then it is completely invisible. If you are at 0.5, then it is halfway invisible, and 0, of course, so I've already told you. And so that's everything about this transparency attribute, and we can now change this to 0.6 maybe. Okay, and that's basically the way on how you change attributes. So you refer to this attribute, and then equals to express that you want to override it, that you want to change it, and then the value you want to change it with, okay? And to be able to change attributes requires you to know about those attributes, because let me give you a short example. So we have now expressed that the transparency of this part should be lowered, or no, increased to 0.6. But let's work on another, or on a different attribute. Let's try to change the material, okay? And if we just change the attribute we refer to and just leave everything as it is, then you would run into a problem, because changing the material to 0.6 does not make any sense, okay? And that's the thing I wanted to point out. So you need to know something about the attribute you mess with. So changing the material to 0.6 is not a thing. So you need to know about all of the possible materials and how to change them via script. So if you want to get to know about an attribute, as I have already told you, create create an instance within your studio session, and then go to this properties tab and then mess around with it. So, for example, if you click on this medium stone gray thing, a whole new tab appears, which lets you choose a certain color. Okay, the same goes for this color attribute. And if you click on material right here, so you guys cannot see it because my recording program is not recording that, but then a tab with some different materials appear, okay? And that's the thing I want to shout out to you. So play around with all of those attributes, get to know about them, and yeah. So before this video ends, I would like to go through the brick color, and the material. And we have already gone through the transparency. So if your attribute consists of a number, then of course you need to change it with a number. So 0.6, 0.5, 1, whatsoever. But if your attribute is a text, a string, example material, so material is plastic, then you need to do the following. So then you need to add those two quotation marks. As you guys know, those are characteristics of a string, and then enter the string, okay? And since ASD SAT is not a material, you need to know about all of the possible materials there are. And let me just change the material to ice. Okay, so ice is actually a material you can't possibly choose, and let's just change the parts material to that. Okay, so that's the way on how you change the material of a part. And as you can see, our part looks different. All right, so now let's do the same thing for the brick color. And the difference between, well, let me just quickly point out the difference. So the difference between brick color and color itself is the following difference. So if you click on this thing, as I've already told you, I cannot record it, but if you click on that, then a tab appears and you have some buttons which represent the color. So they have the color. Okay, so they represent the color. They actually apply to the block when you click on it. And you know, so they all are prepared colors, so you're not able to create your own color, okay? And that's what brick color is about. So it offers you some prepared colors you can choose of. But what color does is that you have some numbers right here, and those numbers determine a certain tone, okay? So if I choose orange, as you can see, you have different numbers, but the brick color says really red. All through this is orange. Okay, and that's a problem between those two. So you try to translate this color into a brick color, and yeah, so that's an issue, and that might be pretty confusing to you. Therefore, I wasn't sure about dealing with them, because this is a so-called color free, and this is a normal brick color. And if you want to change a brick color, then of course refer to the property, and then you cannot do the following by saying black. Okay, so you cannot do this. You need to do the following. So you need to do brick color.new. Okay, and that's something you just need to memorize. Okay, so that's something you need to do when you want to change the brick color. As you can see, the color has been changed. And why is that so? Because brick color is considered as a special value, let's say, and you're basically creating a new brick color. Okay, so new stands for, of course, something newly created, and brick color, yeah, so you're creating a new brick color. And if you have watched my other videos regarding the One Piece game or any other game I've created, then you might have encountered this .new as well, because I always use this when, or I always have used it when I have created a new instance via script. Okay, so you had instance.new. Okay, and the same goes for this one. So you're creating a new brick color, and the first argument determines the color it represents. In this case, it is black. Okay, so it might sound very, very difficult and very confusing to you, but yeah, you do not need to know about this right away. I just recommend you to deal with it, okay? I hope that you will deal with all of those attributes alone. And if you have any questions, then yeah, then use the comment section to ask about them. Okay, so let's quickly go through color, and the same goes for color. Okay, so as you can see, we have numbers and text. So what would you pick? So if you, for example, do this, then it won't work. And if you do, so I'm just entering some random numbers. So if you would do this, then this would not work either. So what is the problem? And we have the same thing as we had with brick color. So I have told you that brick color is a whole new type of value. The same goes for color. So color is a so-called color free. And as you can see, no, you cannot see it because my program is not recording it, but a tab appears which recommends things I could possibly write, and I'm not gonna mention them in order to prevent confusion. But as you can see, a new type of value, so color-free.new. So we are creating a new color-free, and within this brackets, so the first argument is always yeah. So it is responsible to represent the newly created color free in this case. And as you can see, I can click on this color wheel and then a new tab will appear, which lets me choose a certain color. And let me choose really red as a color. And that's really red in numbers, in color free numbers. Okay. And there is, of course, some more stuff you need to know about when it comes to color free. So there is a red, green, blue, I think, and HSV. Okay, I do not want to cause confusion, so forget about them. So that's topic for another video, maybe in the future. But yeah, so that's all about color free. Okay. And it is okay if you cannot keep them apart at the beginning, or if you have any issues understanding them. And I do not expect you to understand them as well, because those are, yeah, new types of values, okay? And there are some more examples hidden inside of this properties tab. For example, when it comes to size or position, we work with vector free, okay? That's, of course, also a new type of value. And yeah, so pretty confusing stuff, and I think that I'm gonna end the video at this point, and we'll just take a separate look at all of those types in a future episode, okay, or in future episodes. So that's a suggestion of myself or of me to you guys, just to prevent further confusion. And yeah, so I'm glad if you as homework just go through this properties tab and just click on all of those single properties and see what you are able to change and how it looks like later on. All right, so thank you guys for watching. If you have liked it, then please leave a like, subscribe, share this video to all of your friends. Yeah, give me ideas in the comment section on how you like the series, or some things you maybe dislike, some things you want to see as well, okay? And As I've already told you, do not worry if you're not able to understand things right away. That's totally okay. And also the topics we have dealt with in the last minutes, such as color free, break color, whatsoever. Okay, so it is okay if you do not understand about them as well. Okay, we are going to deal with them in separate videos, guys. Okay. I just wanted to go through this properties tab and show you how you can refer to a property and how you can change it. And changing them also requires you to know about all of those types of values I have just showed you. Okay, so color free and brick color and vector free later on, and we also have C frames, but those things are whole new topics, guys. Okay, take care and see you in the next video.